Hi, I'm Lisa Evans from Speaking Savvy, and I'm really excited about the upcoming book, Stories from the Heart, Tales of Inspiration. It's the first book in what I hope will be a series of many, and the book is comprised of 16 short stories. It's a co-authored book, so we have 16 different authors who have contributed a wonderful, inspirational and uplifting story that they have told on a Stories from the Heart live storytelling stage. And I'm delighted that today I have with me Michelle Sandford, who is one of our amazing authors. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Lisa.
And Michelle is a TEDx speaker. She's a tech girl superhero. She's one of MCV's 30 most influential women in games. She is the co-chair of the Australian Computer Society in WA, and she works for Microsoft. So Michelle has written a fabulous story in the book that you will be very interested in reading and finding out more. I've got a few questions for you, Michelle. Are you ready to answer a few deep and meaningful questions?
I'm sitting here in the hot seat and ready to go.
Okay, so to let the listeners know a little bit more about you, let's talk about one of the most defining moments in your life. Can you tell us one of those?
So this was probably the moment when I realised that I wanted to take my public speaking a little bit more seriously. So what happened was I'd been driving down the freeway thinking about what I was going to say in my session, and it was the first time I decided I was going to speak rather than read notes. And it was for a WITWA, which is a Women in Tech breakfast, and they very kindly invited me along with a lot of very important and impressive women from the industry and women from government. And I sat there during the session regretting my decision many times because they all had copious notes which they read from, and there were all sorts of facts and figures and very interesting things that they read out, and it sounded very important. And I thought, here I am going last and I've got nothing in my hands. Is it going to be enough? Is it going to be good enough? And I stood up at the podium and I spoke from my heart, pretty much like we do when you do your Stories from the Heart events. And I told them a story, and people laughed at me mostly, but some of them with me. um, people were nodding. People were really into it, and I thought, this is how it should be. Moving hearts and minds with your stories. And afterwards, so many of the audience came up to me and said that, they were often so depressed hearing, stories from the industry, the statistics about how hard it is to be a woman in tech, and the horror stories of the things that women have encountered. And hearing me speak and being able to laugh with me about the ridiculous things that have happened and the things that people say to you that they've heard a million times before as well, it made them sort of lighten up a bit and see it in a more real world, manageable way. And they said I gave them hope, and they really liked it. And then Dr. Kate Rains-Goldie came up to me, and she, as you know, is just like you, is another TEDx speaker coach, and she said that she'd loved what I'd said, and she felt that I had something within me that should be shared with the world, and why didn't I nominate to speak at TEDx Perth? And so as a result of that session and that deciding to be my own genuine authentic self, that has brought me to where I am now with you.
Wow, that's inspirational, Michelle. That I haven't heard that whole story before. That's great. And you're right, the storytelling is so powerful. And when you're able to peel back the layers and stand in front of an audience with no notes, with just you, you feel naked, you feel very exposed. But the response that you get is overwhelming, because when you are standing up there up close and personal with the audience, you're really able to reach out and make that connection. And that's what speaking's about. Speaking is about serving, it's about sharing, and it's about making that connection. And you can't connect when you are tied to your words or you're tied to your material. And that's the difference. What I say is being the difference between being in your head or speaking from the heart. And when you're in your head, you're caught up with, oh, what comes next? Or you're looking down to grab your next soundbite from your notes. And you're not in your heart. And if you're not in your heart, you're unable to connect. So it's really all about having the courage. It takes a lot of courage to stand there, being vulnerable, and just saying to yourself, hey, you know, whatever words come out of my mouth right here, right now, those are the words that will be just fine. And they won't be perfect, but it's about presence over perfection. It's about presence over polish every single time. So I congratulate you on getting to that stage. You are an amazing speaker and a storyteller, so well done. So I want to ask you now, who do you most admire in life?
So this is an interesting one as well. In that, when I was a little girl, my dad for a time did some security work at Wembley Stadium in the UK, and he used to come back with autographs of famous stars on bits of paper that he'd got for me. And I knew I was meant to be thrilled by these bits of paper and these scribbled names, but you know, I found it impossible to feel a connection with those people. Yes, they were famous, but I don't know, like that never really meant anything to me, you know? And as I grew older, I looked at people like Richard Branson and I thought, there's a man that is changing the world, that is doing great things, that follows his beliefs, that is not ashamed to share when he makes mistakes, that takes learnings from them. That's something impressive. But the problem there is that, you know, he's very different from me, mostly because he's a bearded man. And so I was looking around for some female role models, and when people offer up female role models, they often offer up women who are long dead, like Ada Lovelace and you know, well, famous stars of the past. And that doesn't really do it for me either. And so I've been looking around me recently for awesome women that are alive today. And of course, there's you. And we have a whole circle of women that do different things that inspire us and enliven us. But in the wider world, one I was talking to on LinkedIn this morning is Donna Sarker. Donna Sarker is, well, she refers to herself on LinkedIn as the Microsoft Chief Ninja Cat. And that's because she runs the Windows Insider program, and they have as their little logo a crazy little ninja cat who rides on the back of a unicorn, who has flames coming out of his mouth. And we all of us have those stickers on the back of our laptops. And the thing about Donna is that she isn't, you know, that stereotypical alpha female that has got where she is by being really bossy and wearing massive shoulder pads. She wears the most beautiful outfits, and she designs those outfits. So she's a fashion designer. She's an author like you are. She's a writer. She's an engineer, a principal engineer. So she's the best of the engineers. And, you know, she's never tried to force herself to fit inside a tiny little box. I don't think that she colours inside the lines. I think she just says, what is it that I like to do? What is it I'm passionate about? And she follows those things to wherever they go. And so in that way, she's managed to achieve all these tremendous things in all these divergent careers and directions, and she's combined them together and given herself a job title.
Wow.
That sort of matches all of that. And I just think that's who I want to be. That's the kind of woman that I admire, because yeah, when I was a little girl, I didn't want to be crammed into a box. I didn't want to decide whether I liked science or arts or anything else, and I didn't want to say this is what I'm going to be. I just wanted to or do all the things that I loved. And I love that she's there showing us you can do all the things that you love and be excellent.
Yeah.
And so
What a
yeah.
great creating your own title. I love it. And I also love the metaphor of not colouring between the lines. That's a great one. She sounds amazing. I'll have to stalk her on LinkedIn too.
Well, she has just released a book this morning, so so I saw that on LinkedIn and ordered it immediately from Amazon. And she has already promised me that if I bring it with me to Redmond next month, she will sign it for me.
Fabulous. That's something to look forward to. That's good. Okay, now I'm going to ask you a bit of a curly question now. So, after your super life that you're living now, when you pass to the other side and you lay to rest, what will the words say that you will have carved on your headstone? What legacy will you leave behind? What will the words say on your tombstone?
That's not hard, actually. I would just like them to simply say, she lived well. And I suppose that has double meaning for me, in that I want people to know I lived well, in that every moment I lived my best life. I tried as hard as I could to be the best person I can be. And when I say best person, I mean that in every way possible. I mean, I want to be a good person that helps others, that gives back into the community, that raises other women up, that helps young girls that come after me, and not just girls, really anyone that needs help, that I would be able to reach out and give them a hand if they need it. I want to be that kind of person, but I also want to be the kind of person that, yes, that has not failed at stuff in my own eyes, because I have tried as hard as I possibly could. And therefore, the outcome of each of my things should be something I'm proud of. And I'm not benchmarking myself against other people. I'm benchmarking myself only against myself. And I did see a little quote in the front of someone's Bible once, and it's because, there's always a lot of how do you know if you've done good? How do you know if you've lived well or lived right and all of this? And the quote said, whether you think you have or whether you think you haven't, you're right.
So true, so true. And I just love that philosophy of living life to the best that you can be, being the best person that you can be. And you absolutely are a great person, Michelle. And it's really been nice talking to you today. Can't wait till the book's being released. It's coming out on March the 25th. And it's going to be a big celebration. And I know that listeners are going to love reading all the different stories in the book. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Well, thanks for having me on, Lisa. This has been really fun.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.